це невидимий фронт, але психологічний фронт. Українці підтримують велике навантаження психологічне, і ми розуміємо, що
They also know the trauma and the impacts of war, and the fact that you've stepped up with such world-leading approaches on mental health is something that's very, very exciting. Thank you for your service, and glad to see all this support.
Дякую вам за вашу Дякую вам за вашу службу.
Добре. Я Христина, дуже приємно. Дякую. Так? Де?
The premiers are an essential part of what needs to be a Team Canada effort when it comes to responding to the challenge from the United States. That's why the Prime Minister has led 2 meetings with the premiers of the provinces and territories, and there will be many more. We believe that the best outcome for Canada and the United States is to work hard together to achieve a win-win. And we think that's the best outcome because it is based on the economic fundamentals of our relationship. You know, Canada depends on the United States, absolutely. It's also true that the United States depends on us. And the reality is that Canada is by far the largest market for the United States. We are a larger export market for the US than China, Japan, the UK, and France combined. That is a big deal. That gives us significant leverage. Having said all of that, it's really important to hope for the best and to prepare for the worst. And the Prime Minister has been clear that in the event that the United States were to impose unjustified tariffs on Canada, of course we would respond, and the Canadian response would necessarily be robust. I am confident that it would be effective. That was the experience we had with the 232 steel and aluminum tariffs, where a strong Canadian response led to a great outcome.
To stop vehicles bearing migrants from barrelling across the Canadian border into the United States, blocks like these have been installed on rural roads that intersect the border. But Royal Canadian Mounted Police Sergeant Daniel Dubois explains they aren't a fail-safe solution.
Yeah, people can still hop over them.
Managing the world's longest land border at about 4,000 miles is a tough job, but it's also one now in the spotlight after US President-elect Donald Trump threatened Canada and Mexico with sweeping 25% tariffs if they do not reduce the movement of migrants and drugs into the US. Canadian police say that over the past 4 years they've been installing cameras and sensors along this section over the border.
But for us, we typically will not arrest a migrant.
But officials like Charles Poirier acknowledge they are limited in what they can do to stop southbound migrants who are typically in Canada legally.
Well, here's the thing. They haven't committed an offense until they've crossed into the United States. So our focus for the past few months, and actually the past year and a half, has been on arresting and prosecuting the smugglers.
4 migration experts Reuters spoke with were unsure how new border security technology and equipment would prevent crossings. Canadian politicians admit the show of border strength is about creating an impression of security.
Push people to cross through.
And refugee advocates like Carlos Rojas Salazar argue the restrictions do not deter migrants.
When you try to cross a border, the only thing that you do is that you are pushing people to risk it. And you are increasing the royalties that the organized crime are getting.
Most migrants at the border are heading from Canada to the US and not the other way around. Canadian authorities caught 1,000 people trying to cross into Canada between formal crossings in the 12 months ending in October, according to data obtained by Reuters. That's compared to more than 23,000 apprehended on the US side by US Customs and Border Patrol. That also represents a tiny fraction of the 1.5 million apprehensions over the same period near the US-Mexico border. American Terry Rowe lives on the New York side of the border. He says his motion sensing cameras regularly film migrants crossing the border on foot, mostly towards the US.
It makes us a little nervous.
Yeah.
You know, and it's 70 feet from your bedroom window. I mean, we keep our doors locked.
But recently, he has noticed more heading north towards Canadian soil. Canadian law enforcement are also bracing for a potential influx of migrants fleeing Trump's threat to carry out mass deportations once he is in the White House. They say they have redeployed officers across the border to try prevent a surge.
Fear might drive some people into fleeing the United States and coming to Canada, hoping for a better future.